Hello and welcome to the Spareka YouTube channel. Today we are going to do together the checks to detect a leak on your washing machine. So you have multiple organs to control. However, initially we will need to examine from which side the water is leaking. If you have it towards the back, front, or even on one side, we will see in the video how to perform these checks together. On this type of front-loading machine, we have a porthole here, and here we have our cuff, which is a very fragile seal, and therefore it is a breakdown that occurs quite frequently. We'll take out the laundry like this on top and it'll rub. Over time we degrade the joint, creating a small hole which may not be visible. When washing, the water will flow and you'll see it coming out from the front due to the hole we created during the degradation process. So the cuff joint always needs to be examined, typically as the initial step to ensure there is no opening in it. It is a type of plastic that possesses flexibility, but it is also highly fragile. As a result, in this particular area, we have the hatch where our drain filter is located and can be accessed. The seal often degrades when opening or after checking the filter, if not screwed back correctly. This can happen due to wear and tear. As you can see, you have water flowing here. It is a leak that happens very regularly, so always check that your hatch and your filter are closed properly. And if despite that it is still not closed properly and water is flowing from the front, it is generally simply the seal to be changed or directly the filter. Now I open the back of the device and we will be able to find the location of the bearings located behind the pulley. If you have worn bearings with a damaged seal, there will be no sealing. This can lead to damage to the bearings, resulting in a dull noise when spinning. Additionally, water can pass through the bearings, causing the water that flows out to have a slightly reddish, rusty color. It is important to address this issue promptly to prevent further damage and ensure the proper functioning of your bearings. Located at the back of the device, you will undoubtedly encounter a leak, as is customary in this scenario. In general, bearing leaks are not the largest leaks, but there are still leaks. They can be easily detected based on their color. They are frequently rust-colored due to being in contact with iron. The bearing, we will not be able to see it. It's behind the pulley. To access the bearing, I'll have to remove my pulley. I'll start by removing my belt, passing it and spreading it apart. I will need to remove my pulley at this location using a key, so it is ideal to have two individuals, one who can obstruct the inside, or, if it is not too tight, you will be able to hold it at this location.
The pulley while loosening. Until screw is removed completely from here.
Observing that it is still a large screw, we will proceed to remove it. After removing the screw, we can access the bearing. If the bearing has been damaged by water, the water will flow through the two bearings. There is a bearing located here and another one inside. The water will continue to drip along, potentially causing damage to electrical components. Eventually the water will reach the bottom. This process will continue until all the water has been drained out.
Tighten our screw completely to put back the grout.
So here you have the resistor, you have a sealing gasket all around it. If you have had to replace it, you must make sure to recompress the gasket by tightening the only nut found on it, of course, to avoid any leaks.
We will reattach the belt securely. On our pulley.
So you have the water inlet at the back here, so we're just going to ensure that it is tightened properly. If it is not tightly secured or if it is tightened crookedly, we are always skeptical of having a water leak. And we will also verify if the water flows well in this location, ensuring that our seal inside is not excessively damaged. The joint, we can see this one already has a clear imprint of the part of the solenoid valve that receives air from the device, and over time it can deteriorate, creating a leak. Similar to the contrary of the pipe, we will ensure that it is securely fastened to the water faucet of your residence and that the leakage does not originate from that location. Now we are going to examine the organs below, so for that I am going to eliminate my plate positioned at the bottom. So not all devices have a plate. This one has a plate. I will remove it, so we will have access to all the organs located on the bottom of the device. So at this location, we find ourselves positioned below the appliance, allowing us to have a view of our motor, the tank where the drum rotates, and the hose through which all the dirty water is expelled from our drum. We have here the drain pump and the evacuation hose here. So you can very well find a break generally on a lower part, but it could also be located on any side of the tank. If an item is projected at a high speed through the drum, it has the potential to cause cracks, leading to the breakage of our tank and resulting in a leak. The tank needs inspection all around, starting from the bottom, looking all around. We'll also inspect it from above. We have here the hose through which the wastewater goes. If you have, for example, hair clips or similar items coming out through this hose, they could easily get stuck or puncture this hose. So this hose poses a risk of leakage if it gets pierced, of course. So remember to check the bottom hose to make sure it has no holes. On some hoses you will have a ball that will prevent the passage of too large objects. And on this one, of course, there is nothing inside, so if you want to check, you can very well loosen your hose on each side and remove and look directly visually inside. So you have here a second hose that also goes back to the drain pump, which can be a possible leak point located at the rear. You do not necessarily have it on all devices, but on this double drain pump, because we are on an eco bubble model that will create more foam inside, more bubbles, let us say. With the detergent, we have a second hose. This is the drain pump. Therefore, if this one is not installed correctly, or if you had to replace it, or perhaps if the gasket has been damaged over time, you might also experience a leak. At the motor junction here, you have the pump and the junction where the water passes inside. Therefore, you can always check. Afterward, when you open it, you will directly see whether you have water, simply, or stagnant water, which will leave marks around the drain pumps. You have a total of 2 drain pumps on this particular item. The drain hose also, of course, goes back to the pipe at the back to empty the used bones, but generally, well, not generally, but it happens that this is completely bent and comes to puncture if you put it wrong, if you don't push it properly inside, or if you let it drag under your machine, or if you press it too hard against the wall. You can deform it, and it's not flexible plastic like a hose, it's a more resistant plastic, well, more resistant, harder. However, if you apply excessive force, the object will not be able to return to its initial position, and gradually it may develop a hole that can cause a leak at the rear of your device. So make sure to also inspect your evacuation pipes. Now we'll take off the top panel to get a view of the components inside.
To have a leak, simply.
I have 2 screws at the back. I will simply remove my 2 screws, one on each side. And I'm simply going to pull and lift my sign. So in this particular location, you have the water inlet point. The solenoid valve allowing water flow into detergent compartment based on selected programs. And so you always have to make sure that these hoses are in place. It's very rare for them to move anyway, but it could still happen. You have here a small hose which must be a vent hose, so this one generally may not necessarily create a leak. You have a bigger one underneath that is the same. You don't have any foreign bodies that can pass. You simply have water and laundry detergent passing through. so at worst you can plug it with laundry product, but leaks are infrequent at this level. However, you can locate a hole crafted for spinning here on the tank, just like the one at the bottom. You can have any object in your pocket, like a small metal object that could be taken to over 1000 revolutions per minute to pass through the drum and end up breaking the tank. So this can happen both on the top and on the bottom and on the sides, so it's up to you to check the entire tank. But I think that first of all, the ideal thing is to first look at its components, its hoses, before tackling a tank. And unfortunately, if the tank is broken, you will need to use putty to fill it or replace the tank. If you cannot find any leaks, do not hesitate to get in touch with Spareka. A group of specialists is available to assist all individuals who wish to fix their devices. So go to Spareka.fr and we are here to help you. We have just seen together how to perform the verification following a leak on your washing machine. If, despite this video, you still have a leak and you have not found its source, please feel free to leave us a comment below this video. We'll reply ASAP to find a solution to your issue. If you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and see you soon for a new video.